And so it gets your endorsement.
The
You,
pint. Oh,
I like that lighting, man.
let's see. Do you? This is a. Yeah, it's for my plants. You
Oh,
know,
oh, cool.
yeah, it's like a plant light.
I'm Jimmy Chang. Welcome to the channel. Today we've got a special guest. He needs no introduction. Andrew Stroh, otherwise known as SlydogStroh. You'll
What
probably
up?
know him from YouTube and from his Instagram account. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me today.
Thanks, man. And happy to be here for sure.
And there my daughter is. She's here to try to
Hi.
interrupt. Evie, why don't you stand guard? Make sure no one comes in and interrupts, okay?
Okay.
Okay, give me half an hour.
The pint is on the XR level. It's just kind of minus the range, which is a
Okay.
bummer. And that charge time, you'll need the ultra charger at the end of the day probably for the pint. But
Tell me about
anyway,
that
it's a great
experience
board.
going out to Santa Cruz.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it, or opportunity arose, and I was like, I'm there.
Sure. No, I
Um,
remember. I thought you weren't you one of the first testers, one of the testers of the Gemini app
Gemini,
update.
yeah.
That's right.
So basically I just had access to it. It was like a week early. It wasn't a long time, but of course I did like 150 miles in that week and just wrote it, and I wrote up kind of my feedback, and I think that feedback was really valuable for them, like to actually launch it.
Sure.
So that probably helped a lot. They were like, "Hey, you did a great job with the Gemini. Why not bring him out for the Pine?"
Yeah. And I thought that was a great move. If you look at the way Gemini was accepted by everyone, everyone just thought it was awesome, and you had tested it. If we would have had a SlydogStroh endorsement of the pint from the beginning, video footage of you riding it instead of a bunch of YouTubers that don't normally ride the one wheel, I think
Right.
that would have been much more powerful.
And obviously that's the direction that they're kind of going to. So
Sure.
I think in the future there'll be more. There'll be more stuff
Yeah.
going on. Feels like an XR, smaller package. I think this iteration is really them getting that design package down well. The light bar is awesome, and who knows what the foot pads are made out of? It doesn't look like wood, right?
Hmm.
Um, I didn't even, I was more focused on the riding than like really looking at the board in specifics in that way. But um, no, I really like the pint. I think, biggest thing for me, the grip tape wasn't great. So we'll definitely be, wanting grip tape options and things. But as far as like performance and how it feels, it's an XR, just
Okay.
less range. It's a great board for sure.
So, what about the smaller wheel? What kind of wheel do you normally ride with on your board?
I have a couple boards. So I have like a stock board that I
Hmm.
really don't ride too much. I've been riding the Flight Fins Hoosier 6. Love
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Excellent. It's a little bit more rounded, but it's also really stable. And that's a lot what Unili is like too, which is the board or the wheel they're using. Again, it's a little more rounded. So for new riders, you want to keep it at 15 psi and go from there, and kind of play with it.
Okay.
20 does get squirrely if you're like not prepared. So the boards we tried, I think there was one that had like 16 psi, and then the rest had close to 20. And on the one that was really pumped up, probably the most, that was the one that people tend to think was squirrely or avoid. I gravitated to it because I ride streets, and
Okay.
I just like the feel of the wheel.
Sure.
Um, but anyway, it felt very surfy. It's a very fun tire. But of course, people will probably swap them. So we'll see how that goes with tire swaps, and
Yeah.
what the future holds for that whole realm.
And so it gets your endorsement.
The
You,
pint, oh, totally.
okay.
I mean, Simple Stop. The biggest reason why I really like the pint is the Simple Stop, and the rollout of that is huge, just for getting new riders on the board, and it's just visually appealing, and it'll work well, and hopefully they can make their money with the pint, and when there's a pint XR, I think that thing's going to be a huge game changer, and
Sure.
yeah, and it only just gets better from there. So again, as like a redesign and it's a step in the right direction with Simple Stop. So for sales on the retail level, I think they're going to do really, really, really well. But if someone is looking to get into the float life for real, right, and really ride these boards, you just get an XR, man. But the range on the XR is better than like most electric boards out there if you're not looking at like the electric unicycles, right?
Hmm.
But the boards, like the boosteds, the whatever else. The XR is top of the line.
The Onewheel Pint gets Andrew Stroh's endorsement. That's a strong endorsement. Are you going to be getting a pint?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I'll get a pint. So yeah, I'll probably use it for like late night store runs. I'll use it to get new riders on the board. I'm going to collaborate with a local skate shop to do some local demos. And that's really where I see the pint flourishing, is with retail outlets. You don't have to be afraid to get on it if you don't really know how to ride, just because like it takes away reverse, and instead of going in reverse, it just sets you down. I hated it personally. I flip, thank goodness they have the option to flip it off in the app. So if they didn't do that, it'd be a wreck. But because I didn't like SimpleStop, but for a new rider to be able to hop on, hey, just go reverse, it's great.
We're going to play 2 truths and a lie. All right. So,
prepared for this one.
Okay. For those of you who don't know how to play 2 truths and a lie, you will give 3 statements. 2 of them will be true. 1 of them will be false. And then at the end or whenever, we will reveal what was true and what was false. Okay.
We got Dobby.
Dobby
the elf.
The elf, yes, the house elf, not a troll.
That's right.
Okay, so, all right, who should go first? Do you want to go first?
Sure. So first one is, I was born right here in Chicago. Chicago's and Midwest in general is kind of where I spent a lot of my time. Next one is, my first electric vehicle was the Onewheel.
Okay.
It started right off the bat, whole career. And then last is, I actually spent, believe it or not, my first 5 months on a Onewheel. I never even really took it in the street with cars. I was on sidewalks and paved paths. So today I think I'm known as a street rider, and I really push those boundaries, obviously being in the street and trying to be comfortable in my city. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I started off my career on the sidewalk.
Okay. Wow. So your first 5 months on the sidewalk.
About 3,000 miles ish.
Wow.
I did. I only had 3 classes that semester, so I rode the Onewheel a lot. I'd ride on campus, charge, ride on campus, go. I've always been kind of shy, but it's something that I've really been able to meet so many people and get involved with so many cool things just because I ride this board, and I think that's why it leaks into our lives. I wear all Float Life Onewheel stuff. I got all the swag. So just from being a part of it, it's been a really, really rad experience.
Yeah, no, there's something about the Onewheel. It's a definite conversation starter. I mean, just riding it around in the neighborhood where I live, because I'm on the Onewheel, I've become friends with neighbors that I had never even known for the years that I've lived here, but because they
never
see me on that, and they see me on that, and they're just like, "What is that? Did you make that? How fast does it go?" And then it just starts this whole conversation, and so it's pretty cool. Number 1, you're born or you're from the Chicago area. Number 2, first electric vehicle was the Onewheel.
That's right.
And number 3, for the first 3,000 miles, did you say? All sidewalks. All sidewalk, yep. All right, cool. Let me tell you mine. My first one is, I'm allergic to peanuts. And when I was a kid, my brother once forced me to eat a peanut because he didn't believe that I had a peanut allergy, that I was faking it. Number 2, the second car I ever owned was a minivan. And when we sold it, we had over 300,000 miles on it. Last one was during 6th grade camp. We got Dobby here. Evie, no more. Okay. All right. And then the last one is during 6th grade camp. I was once lost in a forest for 12 hours with a man who later killed a couple people. He's now in prison and he's on death row. So there you go. There's my 3.
Wow.
We'll talk more about those at the end. All right?
Sounds good.